Picture this, you made a tiny mistake at work, a 1-minute phone call could fix it. No money lost, no time wasted, just a minor blip of a mistake. Then your boss learns about it and explodes.
Your boss is angry.
They yell at you like you would be a 5-year-old who just broke a precious vase. If you are a millennial or Gen Z, you probably experienced this at work. You are a grown adult with a mortgage, a career, a life, and yet you are being treated like a little child by your boomer boss. Why does this happen? Why is the anger so disproportionate in boomer bosses? Today we are performing a psychological autopsy of the boomer-millennial divide. I'm going to show you the drama that made them this way and the grey rock method to shut down their tantrums. And I'm going to explain why their anger is actually a sign that they are the ones who never grew up. So let's get into it.
Useful Thoughts Video Podcast.
So before I tell you about the why, let me tell you about my Tuesday. It was a 10 seconds phone call, as I said, no money lost, no problem at all actually. No time wasted, just a tiny little human error. And yet my boss reacted like I just deleted the whole company database. Baby boomers grew up in an era of enormous economic growth. Yes, that's right, but it was also an era of extreme rigidness. Think about the education and the parenting styles of the 50s and 60s. It was children should be seen and not heard. Children had to be quiet, they had to shut up all day. Nobody listened to children because it was just not relevant what they said. Nobody cared about a child's psychology because nobody learned about psychology. There wasn't even psychology the way it exists now. And empathy was a word yet to be invented. Authority was absolute. You didn't question a teacher or a priest or your boss or your parents. If you did, the consequences were physical or deeply shameful. Back in the days, teachers and parents slapped and hit kids.
That was normal for them.
They entered a workplace that was just working literally like military barracks. And now for many boomer bosses, they feel they have the right to treat their employees just as they have been treated when they were young. They did this job for 20 years and now they are the ones yelling at others. It's just a little bit of history repeating. For boomers, hierarchy is also a shield. When you are a millennial or Gen Z and you ask for check-in or mental health or a day off, then you are not just asking for a break. To them, you are marking the last 20 years of silent suffering it took your boss to get to the top. So your boss's anger is often a defense mechanism against his own realization that the suffering he went through might not have been actually necessary. So if they suffered, why shouldn't you? Of course, this is totally unlogic, but this is just how human beings are. But I guess in this boomer generation is also a huge lag of awareness. So let's get clinical for a second. Why do they lack self-awareness? In psychology, there is a concept called emotional intelligence. For millennials, emotional intelligence was part of their curriculum. We talked about holding space and boundaries and active listening. But for many in the older generations, emotions were seen as a liability. If you showed emotion, then you were weak. And nobody wants a weak coworker. When your boss yells at you for a tiny mistake, then they are experiencing what is called an amygdala hijack. Their brain's threat detecting system is firing. It's firing the same way as it would fire if they are being chased by a black panther or a saber-toothed tiger. They never learned to label their feelings. I feel stressed about this client, or I am worried about my job security. These are things they never thought. It all gets compressed into one single output, which is anger.
Just one quick word, if you have come so far in this video, please do me a favor, click the like button, and if you want to see me again, hit subscribe.
They are infantile. They are re-enhancing their own trauma, and they use you as a proxy. They don't have the right to do that, but they do it anyway. They are not even realizing what they are doing. To them, they are just being the boss, and they are just doing what bosses do because their bosses did it. And to you, they are a bully. They hurt you. So let's talk about the mental pain and the cortisol spikes. Why does it hurt you so much when your boss yells at you? Is it just your sensitivity? When a person in a position of power yells at you, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. In a healthy environment, these levels drop back down. But in a toxic workplace, you stay in a state of hypervigilance. You start double checking every email 10 times so you don't make another mistake. And then you lose your sleep. And then you actually start to make mistakes. And then you actually lose your job. So the mental pain is real. It's a form of moral injury. It's the pain of being treated unfairly when you knew that you just acted with integrity, but you make mistakes because you are a human being. Even AI can make mistakes. And here's the brutal truth. Boomers do not have the right to use you as an emotional regulator. They are effectively using their employees to release stress. They release stress they can't manage themselves. They are offloading their psychological trash onto your desk. It is time to stop picking that trash up. So what is the defense strategy? You need to rewire the interaction. So how do we do that? How do we defend ourselves? How do we stop being treated like a child? Next time they yell at you, try to mentally step back. Don't look at them as their boss. Look at them as a biological specimen. Just another creature on Earth, just like that fly or that moth or your cat. You probably love your cat a little bit more than your boss, I understand, but still. Just think, oh wow, how high is his blood pressure? This must be a very poorly regulated nervous system. Probably the boss is not doing enough exercise, or his wife doesn't exercise enough with him, huh? By becoming an observer, you detach yourself from the volume. So when they finish their triad, wait 3 seconds. Silence is a most powerful tool. Then ask them a calm and logic-based question. I heard that my client call was a concern, but since this has been resolved in a 10 seconds call, so what's actually the specific progress change that you want to see? Or when you respond with cold logic to their emotion, you recalm the role of the adult. And there you are, a grown-up man who makes mistakes, well. And by doing this, you are setting the behavioral boundary. Again, boundaries, guys, very important, boundaries. You don't have to quit today, but you must document this. If the yelling becomes a pattern, address it in a calm moment. I appreciate your feedback. I just cannot accept it if it is being yelled at me. Your boss will be like, And you could continue by saying, let's move forward together, but keep our critique in a professional manner. If they can't do that, then you have your answer to the question of your career future in this company. So what's the conclusion? Well, I guess an era has ended. The command and control style of leadership is an artifact of the past. It's a dinosaur that doesn't yet know that it has been extinct. You are part of a generation who has to redefine how a workplace looks like. You need to build empathy, results, and mutual respect. If your boss yelled at you today, it has not been about these 10 seconds. It has been about their 40 lost years. Don't let their past steal your future. So I would like to hear from you. Have you managed to set boundaries efficiently at work? Let me know in the comments. I'm doing this for free, so if you want to support me, you can buy me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description of the video. Thank you very much for listening to the Useful Thoughts video podcast. Here are some playlists and the video you could watch. Here you can hit subscribe. I hope to see you again. And as always, have a good one.